Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Diverse Thinking Different Learning podcast. I am so happy that you are here with me today. I am recording this in August, which means it's almost time to go back to school. And I know that I'm not yet ready for this transition, and it may be the same for some of your learners. So today we're going to talk about how to prepare neurodiverse learners for the transition back to school. My guests today are Gabrielle Hennings and Zoe Hemenway. They bring a combined dedication of 14 years to the realm of education, shaping young minds for a brighter future. Their journey has been marked by a deep commitment to understanding and appreciating neurodiverse learners, valuing the richness the diverse learning styles bring to the educational landscape. I'm so thrilled to have them here with me today.
Millions of kids struggle with learning, processing, and social emotional difficulties. These challenges interfere with their ability to reach their full potential. Dr. Karen Wilson is here to help. Her extensive background in pediatric neuropsychology and higher education have prepared her for this unique mission. Listen as she delivers content to inform, educate, and empower parents and educators. This will enable you to identify challenges that kids face and get them on the road to achieving their full potential. This is Diverse Thinking, Different Learning by Child Nexus.
Gabrielle and Zoe, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us. Yes. We're excited to speak with you today.
I'm really excited as well. It's sad that summer is ending. It's hard to believe that is actually happening right now, but this is where we are. It's hard to believe we're approaching like the back to school season, which can be anxiety provoking for students and for parents.
Definitely.
Absolutely. It can. Yes.
Yes. And that's why I wanted to have you both on the podcast, because you both have, a great deal of experience working with students who have learning challenges, who need additional support. And a lot of parents are thinking, apart from purchasing school outfits and backpacks, are there other things that parents can be doing to help with this transition period, particularly if students have had a history of learning struggles? Maybe they didn't have a great academic year last year. Maybe they're struggling with reading, or they struggled with writing. They didn't do any of the, reading for pleasure during the summer break. And now it's time to think about going back to school. So I'd love for you to talk a little bit. Let's start with, are there things that parents can be doing at this period of time to help with that transition?
Absolutely. I think our first suggestion is to start now. And to not wait for, the first day of school to roll around and then decide to implement a morning routine, or to think about the supports that you're wanting to tackle that writing task. And so if we can start during the summer when the stakes are a little bit lower and, it might be okay if you're 5 minutes late getting out the door, then come September, the first day of school, everybody can kind of feel more equipped and ready to utilize strategies that we're about to share and talk about, so that everybody can leave the door feeling a sense of confidence and ready to take on the day no matter what's to come. So yeah, starting now, I think, is our number one first tip for all families.
Yes, absolutely. And I love that you mentioned a routine, because over the summer months, I know in our home, the routines have not been the same as they were during the academic year. We're going to bed a little bit later, waking up a little bit later. And again, the structure of a school day is not there for many, many kids.
Absolutely. And so to speak a little bit further about routines, one routine to consider is that morning routine. So really thinking about what is everything that needs to get done before we walk out of the door and head off to school for the day. And so one strategy that we suggest is incorporating and utilizing a visual schedule. So really breaking down the things that need to take place so that everybody is leaving on time and not feeling the sense of rush or frustration, and instead leaves with a sense of purpose and confidence. And so being really thoughtful about kind of breaking down the tasks that need to happen dependent on, the student's age and their level of support. That could be, having a little picture of you're waking up in the morning and then making your bed and then going into the bathroom to brush your teeth, and using visual icons to really break down that routine for success. We like to have kind of a to-do side and a done side to further support that intrinsic motivation to actually use the tool as well, so that as the kiddo kind of completes each step of that, they're able to take it off of the to-do, put it on the done. And I'm sure for us adults, we understand, like, when we make ourselves a to-do list, getting to check off that item makes us feel so happy and encourage us to keep going with it. So yes, having kind of that visual support to also keep everybody on track so that we know what's to expect, what's coming after I have my breakfast. Oh, I know I'm going to go pack my backpack for the day. And that can also build a sense of consistency and predictability. And particularly for our neurodivergent students, starting the day with that sense of predictability can really be a game changer for the course of the rest of their day.
Right. And then when you talk about those routines and the visual schedules, it helps students to anticipate what's coming up next. So they know they can see that visual schedule. It's the night before, and they know, kind of what the routine will be in the morning. And routines can significantly reduce anxiety. In addition to preparing students for the structure of a school day, it really can help reduce that nervousness that students might feel about what's coming next.
And then another thing just within the morning routines, and Zoe had mentioned like consistency with it. So just keeping in mind that it is a routine. And so although it is summer, like as parents, sometimes we have to change our mindset as well. And we have to get in that routine. So, modeling that for our students and making sure that we ourselves are holding them accountable and we're holding ourselves accountable and keeping that routine consistent, because just because you do it one day doesn't mean it's going to stick or it's going to, be there for the rest. So starting small too, like maybe it's one thing they do that day and then you add on a new thing each time so that they're really building it and making it attainable for them.
Right. Right. And I love that you also said, like, starting now. We're recording this in August. This episode will be released probably mid-August. Some students will actually already be transitioning back to school. Some will have a later start date, but having that schedule visible to students, it's like, okay, summer is over. We have to get ready for this new schedule. And I'm a big fan. We all should be a big fan of getting enough sleep, but making sure that now that we're going to have a different start time for school, sometimes a lot of kids are going to have to get up a lot earlier, starting that routine now in terms of changing their sleep schedule so that it's not this drastic shift, on the night before the first day of school.
Absolutely. Yeah. Suggestion might be kind of setting that alarm earlier with like 5-minute increments. So the first day of school, it doesn't feel like, what? I have to wake. I've been able to sleep until 10 every day. And now you're making me. Yes, exactly. And then also to kind of support that consistency and internalization of the routine, placing it someplace local that you will see and pass by consistently. So, and you might make multiple versions of it. So there might be one in the bedroom, in the restroom, and then in maybe like on the refrigerator as well. So everybody in the family is also involved within it. And it's a constant kind of visual reminder of, oh, that's right. We have a routine in place that we can rely on and come back to, especially during times when we're busier as the school year starts.
Right. Absolutely. And I'm also thinking about students entering middle school and high school and the need for strong organizational skills. It becomes increasingly important in middle school and even more important when they get to high school. Are there some tips that you recommend for starting students with planners, with checklists, other organizational tools, knowing that this is going to be a big shift for many students, particularly those transitioning to middle school or high school this academic year?
Yes, absolutely. That has definitely been on our mind. And we've actually created a free downloadable for a planner that we've created, a couple different versions, just being mindful that not one planner is not going to work for everybody. And so really being mindful about finding the tool that works best for you. Especially thinking, okay, is it a digital planner that I'm using, or is it one that I do best when I actually write down what I need to do for that night? And again, you can start now with the planner. So the students that we're supporting this summer, when they have, let's say, a reading requirement that they need to get done, we're really talking to them about breaking down not only a short-term goal, but a long-term goal for, okay, if you were assigned the reading today, August 2nd, and you know that it's due by September 3rd, what is that going to look like so that you are able to complete everything needed for that? And really supporting them as much as they need, but as little as possible so that they also feel confident in their ability to break down that task with your guidance and support as they begin to develop that skill.
Just speaking to, like, as Zoe said, finding the planner that works for them. A lot of our students are given a planner at the beginning of the school year that has a very small section for them to write things in. And usually it will get lost, or the kids will go, I don't need to write that. Or they'll say, like, my Google Classroom has the to-do, but sometimes there are things missing within that. So kind of finding specifically how much space they're going to need, talking to them about what works best for them. Like Zoe said, the digital planner versus the written planner. So knowing that just because they get a planner at the beginning of the school year doesn't mean that's the one that is going to be the best for them.
Right. And you mentioned digital versus, those, I call them old school planners,
yes.
which I love.
Yes, we love them as well. Yes. Yep.
And then also it seems like going over, if this is the first time a student has used, one of these two forms of planners, to go over it with them. So it's not like you just give them the planner, buy it, at Barnes and Noble or Amazon and just give it to them and say, you start using this. But, let's go through this together. What are you going to write here? Right.
And if you're using it in the summer and they don't have necessarily assignments, or they don't even have to read for pleasure or whatever, you can go, okay, well, what's your day look like? Do you have any activities? And putting those in there for them to be able to plan and say, okay, well, I want to have a play date with so-and-so, but I have soccer practice at 11 a.m. So when is that going to work for me? So using their summer activities to incorporate with the planner can be helpful now as well.
That's a great idea. And then again, that speaks to getting started now, right? You don't have to wait until you've got your, book reports due and research papers and things like that. You can get started now with activities you have going on in the summer.
Yeah. Yes. And I think because summer activities feel fun and exciting, that can also open up students to be more open to actually using this tool that might not feel as exciting when they have to plan out for a math test that they know is coming at the end of the week. And so that can be a really great opportunity to get them excited about this and to give them a sense of ownership over this tool, so that come the school year, that transition to then recording academic requirements is a little bit more seamless for them.
Yes, that's a great idea. And again, it seems like it would increase the motivation to use it, right? If they're planning their play dates, as opposed to planning for their other activities. Yeah. It seems like it's a good time to sit down with students and really set, academic and even personal goals. Like, what are your goals for this year? I'm a different kind of parent, but I love actually going through my child's end of year progress report and seeing where were the gaps? Like, what do we need to work on during this next year?
Yes, absolutely. We do a lot of goal setting with our students kind of throughout our time with them during the school year. And so during kind of our first sessions that we'll have with them, it is really focused on, okay, what do you want to gain out of this year? And really placing them in the driver's seat and letting them know that no matter the goal that they set, if it's meaningful to them, then it's a meaningful goal. And so really being mindful as we're helping them kind of create these goals, that we do want to encourage their self-advocacy and what they are going to find important. So even if it's, I want to get really great at knowing when to use an exclamation mark, then we got to celebrate that, because for them to even generate that idea and then kind of break it down and think about how to obtain it, that's meaningful for them. And so after we have them identify an initial goal, we use different acronyms, like SMART is one that I think a lot of people go to, but just being really intentional about, okay, great, you have this goal, but what are we going to do to actually get there? Mm-hmm. And to make sure that along this journey, we're celebrating all the small victories, so that when we actually accomplish this goal, we're able to recognize how much progress and effort and work we put into meeting this.
I think we also like to stay away a little bit from the grade portion of kind of last year's reports and all of that, because a grade isn't determining how capable a student is or what they can do. So, if a kid comes in and they're like, I want to get an A, it's like, okay, great. Let's break that down. Let's really find what in that class you're wanting to learn and you're wanting to be able to do. And maybe it's really that they didn't earn the A because studying for tests was really hard. So then the goal can be, I want to strengthen my study skills. I want to be able to long-term plan, little things like that, rather than going, okay, in math, I'm going to get an A, and in science, I'm going to get a B+. So really breaking those goals down and making sure that our students are identifying what within each goal is important.
Absolutely. And I've seen comments that, again, are not directly related to grades, but it might be, a student needs to take more risks, right? Needs to ask more questions when they don't understand information that's presented in the classroom, needs to participate more. Those are some things, again, that students can work toward that will help the learning experience for them. And it means coming out of their comfort zone as well.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that if we can use questions as well to support them just in, let's say that they received a comment of, they could engage in better study habits. That's a blanketed statement. Yeah. So really going in there and being curious, what does that mean to you? Did you see this tripping you up? Okay, let's really break down what it even means to study. Okay, do we have a designated space? Are you doing it at a time that you are the most focused that you can be? Do you need to have a snack before you sit down to study? And so breaking each one down so that also it's obtainable and that it can be achieved and that the student can feel successful with the goals that they are setting.
Yes. And it seems like even when you have all of the things in place, you've got the place for them to sit, you've got the planner, you've got the digital checklist, you've got all of those things. Some students, particularly those who have learning and thinking differences, who have problems with executive functioning, need additional assistance. They may need not just the tools, but they need someone to help them use the tools. And that's why I love the work that you both do with educational therapy and providing that support. I'd love for you to talk about how that can be additionally helpful for some students.
For sure. I mean, executive functioning is it can be so scary and daunting at times for parents to be like, what is that? And how do I help my student? And, to your point, my kid has the right tools. They have everything. They're sitting down. Why can't they execute it? And it's because it's multi-layered. And so when we work with our students, no matter their plan, executive functioning is blanketed over everything. So we're working on initiation. We're working on monitoring their work. We're working on breaking down tasks. So a lot of what we've talked about is making sure things are attainable. And so it's breaking everything down. And, it's not just school assignments, but it can be really applied to anything that we do. And even going back to that morning routine, they can start with executive functioning skills within that. Initiation is getting up in the morning and actually starting the task, breaking down what it means to actually get dressed, whether it's, picking your clothes and then following through, monitoring that your time is being used wisely. And so a lot of the work we do is just solely focused on executive functioning and following through with tasks.
We're going to take a short break from this conversation so I can share some information about one of our Child Nexus partners, Frostig School. Looking for a school that's right for your child with diverse learning needs? Frostig School is a well-rounded learning environment that elevates and celebrates every student on their journey to becoming successful, contributing members of society. Frostig has campuses in Pasadena and West Los Angeles that offer a full range of academic, elective, and support services for neurodivergent children in grades 1 through 12. Learn more at frostigschool.org. Now back to my conversation. Yes. And, when kids struggle with executive functioning, what they often say is that everything feels overwhelming. They feel overwhelmed by all of the things that they need to do, and they have the intention of doing it. They want to do it, but they don't know where to start, like you were saying with task initiation, and they don't know how to get it done. They don't know how to prioritize. What should I do first? What should I spend the most time on? It can feel overwhelming, and having that additional support with, a professional that can really help them, establish some strategies and some ways of approaching their work and their life in general can be extremely helpful.
And I think our focus, our slogan is where confidence blossoms. So, we're very focused on giving kids the tools to feel confident in their abilities. Yeah. And that's really where, and going back to this morning routine of helping your students realize their capabilities through a productive struggle. So giving them the tools and helping them get to that point to be resilient and push through is so important because we want them to feel confident. Our whole goal here is to make sure that they can go out and tackle any task and feel like it's not overwhelming and have those tools. So we love executive functioning.
I think another nice reminder could be just to, in those moments when our students are feeling overwhelmed or that I'm really wanting to learn how to initiate this task, but something just keeps getting in my way. In those moments to just remind them that they're not alone and that it's okay that it's feeling hard. And that there are things that we can work on so that it doesn't always feel that way. I've noticed a real shift with my students in those moments where they really are recognizing the areas that they're struggling within their EF skills. And in just pausing and reminding them that they're not alone, I've seen such a sigh of relief of really just that touch point of I'm here to help. And that's my job in these sessions with you, is to help you in the ways that are meaningful for you as a learner, and that it's okay if right now this is feeling hard.
Yes. And I can't emphasize enough, again, the thing that you said at the beginning is to start now, because as things get overwhelming to students, that's when stress and anxiety set in. And we know that 25% of school-age children experience anxiety that's related to school. And so if we can start now with having a system in place, having these organizational tools, we don't have to wait until things become overwhelming and kids are in distress and they're anxious and they are having meltdowns. We can get these things in place now.
Yeah, I think another routine that could be really important to establish is that afternoon routine. Because not only setting up the day is important, but then also being mindful about, all right, my kiddo has now been in a space where they've been asked to, follow teacher rules and expectations and engage with classmates and maybe go to in-school services as well. And now they're coming home. And how are we going to support them transition back into home, knowing too that there might be homework or soccer practice to get to, and then dinner time. And so thinking about maybe that first 10 to 15 minutes from, arriving and getting through the door of just a decompression time, of reestablishing, reminding them of their capabilities, helping them and supporting them engage in a preferred activity. Our kiddos with sensory needs, really being mindful about what they're needing in that moment. Are they needing to go for a walk or get outside and, move their bodies and stuff before we even think about sitting down to then make a homework plan for that night Yeah.
Yeah. And that really speaks to being in tune to the individual needs of a child, right? Some kids need to sit, come home, put the backpack down and then put some headphones on and listen to some music, right?
Yeah.
That is what they need. And some kids just need to sit, watch something on television with a snack in front of them. Again, it's really giving them what they need to, again, like you said, decompress.
Yes. Absolutely. And that way too, then when we might be tackling a more non-preferred activity, we know that their needs have been met and that we're meeting them so that they are able to succeed and be successful with our support.
Absolutely. And, while we're talking about going back to school, obviously having conversations with teachers for kids who have a history of struggling is so important. And then if parents are working with educational therapists, if their kiddos are working with educational therapists like yourself, it seems like this is a great time to establish and reestablish that partnership between parents, teachers, and educational therapists, because that can really enhance the learning experience and the support a kiddo receives.
Absolutely. We try to support that bridge because we recognize what we do as we're kind of a team together, the parent, ourselves, and then any other supports, the teachers as well. And so for ourselves personally, I think we try to support that as much as possible. Whatever we're seeing in our sessions, we are always wanting to communicate, hey, this strategy seems to be really working for them when it comes to this. And trying to break down what we're doing in session, because we can use terminology that might not be easily interpreted. And so really making sure that it's digestible so then other people can also apply and utilize the strategies that we are using. I'm just creating a document right now for specific writing supports for one of my students. And they actually asked to see it as well. And so we're going to have this conversation about, tell me why I would have listed these supports from this month that we've worked together. And so then they are also feeling like, oh, I'm allowed to go to my teacher and say, hi, I learn best when I visually, I'm given visual supports. When you're talking to me, it can be really hard for me to follow the conversation. So what I need is, right, that piece of self-advocacy, I think is so important for us, that our students know they have the right to tell the teachers and the other grownups in their lives who are supporting them what they need, and that they have the right to get those supports as well.
Yes, that self-advocacy piece is so important, and building those skills and helping kids ask for what it is that they need, and knowing themselves, right? Knowing their strengths and areas where they need support. That is really helpful as well.
And also knowing a lot of our student population they do have IEPs. So helping them as the student understand what they're entitled to is also super important, to Zoe's point of, her student learns best with visuals. And so, if they have that accommodation on their IEP, being able to utilize that and understand that. And obviously that can be a little bit easier with our older students, but also presenting it to our younger students to build those advocacy skills when they are younger is super important as well. So we don't want to neglect the little ones just because maybe we don't. It's a little bit harder to explain things to them at times. It really can. But really opening up their eyes to what they can access starting from day one is super important.
Yes. And that really speaks to the idea that kids have to have a balanced view, right? Oftentimes when kids are struggling, they know what their struggles are. They know that reading is hard, or they know that math is hard, or paying attention is hard. But again, reminding them of the strengths that they have, reminding them that we're going to use those strengths to help you become a better learner. And we're going to, make sure that your teachers know the things that you're working on. We talked about, students setting goals for themselves. Share that information with your teacher. I want to be better at math this year, right? And this is what I'm working on. And so sharing that with your teacher is going to be so empowering for that student as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Now, in thinking about students, again, who struggle with a number of different areas, they may feel a little reticent about starting a school year, particularly when they know that things are going to be harder. It's like they know, fourth grade is going to be different than third grade. Sixth grade is going to be different than fifth grade. How do you motivate students who've struggled during the previous academic year when they know they're going into a new academic year in a new grade where things are definitely going to be a little bit more challenging for them?
I think one thing that comes to mind, I used to do this with my kindergartners when I was a teacher, is when they were having a bad moment, we used to get a sticky note and rip it up and throw it away and say, that's your moment. We're now moving forward. The moment is gone. And now we're going to go forward. And so kind of using that analogy of last year was last year. We can take the positives into this next year, but we can absolutely leave whatever was challenging behind, and we don't need to carry that into this next year. And so really thinking about having conversations about this is your opportunity for a brand new start. And so again, letting your student participate in that conversation, saying, so what does that mean for you? What would you like for this school year to feel differently? Does that mean we're going to Target and we're going to get you a backpack that has your special interest on it. So every single time you get your backpack ready, you get to see Dora, and that, okay, Dora's with you for the day, and you've got her right next to you every time that you can look at your backpack. Or going again to Target and getting school supplies that they get to pick out. And so they're in charge of packing their pencil box in the way that they want it to be. And they get to choose the color of their pencil and the shape of their pencil sharpener. So just finding little ways that we can position them in the driver's seat as we prepare, giving them as much choice and opportunity. I think will lead them to feel a sense of ownership over the school year, with kind of things that are everybody's thinking about, like back to school shopping and things.
And even helping them kind of pinpoint what they're nervous about or what they're fearful of, or those things that, well, my teacher didn't understand me last year. And so making sure that their new teacher understands that they didn't feel heard last year, and hearing them say the things that are a little scary for their start of the school year is also important. And you could do the thing where you rip it up. You say, okay, great, you're afraid of this. Let's rip it up and let's start fresh and going that way.
And I think also voicing your own worries.
Yes.
When I have to give a presentation, I get so nervous. And in my body, my nervousness is my heart is racing a little faster. My mind is a little bit jumbled. So naming the things so that they can also begin to build an understanding of, oh, my heart is racing fast. I need to check in on that.
Yeah.
And again, communicating, they're not alone. Yes. Every person experiences these nervous moments, and that's okay.
Everyone's starting this new grade with you.
Yes, everybody is starting. Yes.
It's normalizing. What that does is it normalizes the experience, and then the kids can kind of take a breath. Okay.
Yes.
A lot of other people are feeling this way. It's exciting, but it's also, nerve-wracking, right? I'm feeling a little worried about the unknown because they don't know. Are their friends going to be in their classroom? What is the teacher going to be like? All of those things are in their head, and validating that experience can be very powerful for kiddos as well. I wanted to just think about, as we've talked about a lot of different things about what can be done, and you both have really set up some really great starting points for parents. And I think it's because you both have such profound insight into the unique needs of neurodiverse learners, and you've worked with them, you've helped meet their needs, help them to develop tools and strategies to help them become better learners. If parents are listening and they're saying, okay, I need to get started, is there any final piece of advice you would offer to parents who have kiddos with learning challenges to help with a smooth transition back to school?
Don't let the bumps in the road stop you from employing the routine or sticking with things, and just know that everybody is going to have bumps in the road, and use them as opportunities to learn from, shake off, let go, and keep going forward.
I love that. Absolutely. And that actually models for kiddos that there will be bumps in the road as well, right? Things will get off to a shaky start. It may not go perfectly on that first day, but the second day could be better, right? The first week might not feel good at all, but the second week could be fabulous. And so again, knowing that there are bumps in the road, and maybe even letting kids know things may not go perfectly that first day, but you have so many, like you said, opportunities for things to get better over time. You've got a whole year to get to know your teacher and to get to know other kids in the classroom and to learn these new things and to work on these goals. And all of it takes time, right?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Everything takes time.
Yes. It does.
We wish things would happen overnight and everything could be, right away. You give a kid a strategy and they've got it, but it can be a struggle sometimes. And as parents, I think, allowing them to struggle to then be capable and understand their strengths and see that they can do these things that maybe it's a little bit easier for us as parents to do for our children. And that's where they get to learn and flourish and be confident in themselves and feel successful, and both a win for the kids and the parents.
It absolutely is. And what I'm hearing in that also is patience for everybody.
Yes. Parents for themselves too. Yes. Have patience for yourself.
Gabrielle and Zoe, I cannot thank you enough for being here and for all that you do to support learners. And I know that parents may be listening to this thinking, I'd love to get my kiddo started with an educational therapist to get some educational support as they begin this academic year or early in the academic year. If parents want to connect with you, what is the best way for them to reach you?
You can go to our website, which is www.hhlearningcenter.com. And we have a little contact page that you can fill out your information there, or you can just email us directly at admin@hhlearningcenter.com.
Wonderful. And I will be sure to put links to that information in the show notes. Thank you so much for being here. You are going to help a lot of parents get started on ensuring, again, that smooth transition to a new academic year. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I hope that you will take with you some great back to school tips. And be sure to check out the show notes. There you will find information about Gabrielle and Zoe and how to connect with them if your child or adolescent needs some additional help during this academic year. They also provided access to a downloadable planner. You can click on that in the show notes and voila, you will have all the information that you need. Also, keep in touch with us. Be sure to subscribe to our email list at childnexus.com and check out our Instagram. We will continue to have back to school tips during the month of August and early September. You can find us at Child Nexus Community. Thank you so much for listening. I'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to Diverse Thinking, Different Learning by Child Nexus. For more resources, visit us online at childnexus.com.